Hi, everybody. My name is Lily, and I'm going to be your cat for today. So, we're going to talk about what happens when you lend money. So, when you lend money, some key words that you need to remember before you even lend money is principal and interest. These are going to be the most important things you will ever come across. So, principal is the initial amount of money you put into the account, and interest is the amount of money a lender profits from the borrower. So, your interest is going to be the amount of money that you earn from the principal. So this is when you let a organization, a bank, or a company borrow this principal. The interest is the money you make. All right, so we know what loans are, but what happens when we become the lenders? And this is what we call stocks, bonds, and savings accounts. This is also known as investments. I'm sure you guys have heard maybe grandparents, even on the news, but grandparents, parents, any guardians in your home talk about investments. And they're really important because they can help you grow your wealth without you even having to do anything. So they're a big part of making your money work for you. There are two main categories of investments. Today we're going to be talking about low risk investments, but I did want you guys to know about high risk investments. So, low risk investments are going to be things that are less to gain, but also less to lose. So, this is going to be things like bonds, savings accounts, certificates of deposits, and treasury bills. Treasury bills kind of falls underneath the category of government bonds, so we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then your high risk investments are going to be things that are more to gain, but also more to lose. So you could lose your full principal versus a low risk investment, you won't lose your full principal. So high risk investments are things like stocks. Some examples are penny stocks, mutual funds, and kind of 401ks, just because they can fluctuate with the market. All right, so why low risk investments? What's so important about them? What's so amazing about them? Why would you even use them if you're not going to earn a lot of money? Well, it's because when companies fall, you won't lose or get hurt by them. Unlike stocks, you do get hurt when a company that you bought a stock from falls or it may decrease in value. You take a big hit financially versus a bond or a CD, you won't as much. So then we have, like I mentioned, you will get your whole principal back, and they're really good for transitioning into retirement. So if you're someone who either doesn't want to wait around or can't wait around for the growth of a stock to grow, then you can invest in a low risk investment like a bond, and your money is secured and it grows just a little bit, just enough for you to be a little more financially secure. But it's also really good for those people who are afraid of losing money like me. Stocks scare the heebie-jeebies out of me. So the concept of bonds and investing, buying government bonds is really secure to me and something that I find more fitting for my financial situation. So what are big safe investments? Excuse my tea. I don't know why it just rearranged itself like that, but what are some of our big investments? So then the main ones I need you guys to know are government bonds. Government bonds is money that you lend to the government. It has a low interest rate and it's promised money back. So no matter what happens, you will always get your principal back. And there's no chance you will ever lose your principal because it's backed by the government. Um, and your money is locked away for a very specific time period, which is super great for people like me who kind of have a difficult time leaving their savings alone. That really forces you to lock your money away because you do get a repercussions. So sometimes you get fines, or you get less than what you put in if you take the money out too early. And it's obviously backed by the government, so it's super safe. And one nice thing about government bonds is you rarely need a broker. Now, a broker is going to be kind of like a matchmaker where they set you up with the right investment for your portfolio, but that also means that they will be taking a slight portion of either your principal or the interest that you gained from the principal. So with government bonds, you really don't need a broker. They're really easy to find on your own. And government bonds are taxed on a federal level, though. So your state cannot tax you, but the federal government can, which is kind of nice because it knocks out one at least. All right, then you have certificates of deposits. So these are distributed by banks. So this essentially is going to be money that you give to the bank to use until the time has come for the bank to return it to you. So these CDs do have high interest, and the reason they have slightly higher interest than savings accounts, so they require you to leave the money alone for a very specific amount of time, again, like government bonds. So some of the benefits are that they have this maturity date, just like bonds do, so they're really secure in that they force you to leave your money away. So if anything, you at least have the principal amount stashed away somewhere. Then it is also protected by the FDIC, which is like an insurance company for your money. So they make sure that the bank you borrow money from has enough money to give you your principal back in full. And then it's really good, obviously, for protecting your money for long periods of time, or even for short periods of time, whatever is fitting for your financial situation. Some of the drawbacks are that if you withdraw earlier than your maturity date, you will get a penalty. So that's usually like a fee of some sort. And then savings accounts are very common. They have really low interest rates. Obviously, you're going to put your money into a bank and leave it there. You can take it out whenever you want, but it's not as helpful in locking it away, if you will. You can put the more amount of money that you put into a savings account, the higher your interest rate can be. And it is, of course, again, backed by the bank. It's backed by the FDIC insurance, that company that I talked to you guys about, where it's kind of like an insurance. Make sure the bank has enough money to give you your principal in full. So that's really nice. Then you have municipal bonds, very, very similar to government bonds. It's essentially government bonds, but on a state level versus a federal level. So again, it is being used by a state. They do have lower interest rate because they're backed by your state and because it's much more secure. So it's super, super safe. It's really good for diversifying your portfolio. Just like how you want to diversify your credit, diversifying your investment portfolio is really good because you can find better interest rates this way. And again, it is free from both federal and state taxes. So that's super great, super nice. Your CDs, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but savings accounts and CDs are also free of those taxes. So then we have corporate bonds. Corporate bonds are slightly more risky. They're on the riskier side just because they are backed by a company that you don't necessarily know what would happen. So although you do guarantee your principal back, you don't know if you're going to guarantee your interest. So you will have for this reason, you will have a higher interest rate. And this also helps to diversify your portfolio, which is really nice. And it is not backed. Some of the drawbacks are that it's not backed by the government. But that's okay because you will have that higher interest rate, which is part of it being slightly riskier. And the interest is taxable on a federal and state level. So just be aware that when you are in the future considering bonds, just ensure that you know which ones are taxable on federal and state levels. And some of the really key takeaways that I want you guys to remember from this is that a safe investment is money being lent to a bank or the government. Those are going to be your most secure forms of investment simply because the government's always going to have the money for you to give back to you. And the bank also is insured by that FDIC company. And safe investments are oftentimes easier to find on your own. Usually with higher risk investments, you will definitely need a broker. Most safe investments, you don't usually need a broker. I don't think any of the ones we mentioned today require you to have a broker, although it is nice to have a broker for corporate bonds specifically, because usually those are hard to find on your own. And then they are really great for securing wealth in the future. So these low risk investments are really good for forcing you to lock money away, to leave it alone for a certain period of time, and they're really good for you to be able to return and take out when you need it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Please email your teacher or coach, and they will reach out to us, and we'll answer any questions you would like. I hope you guys enjoyed my little presentation. Have a great day, everyone.